Fighting for survival, farmers in northern Nigeria risk their lives to secure produce. But a surge in attacks on them is threatening the nation's food reserves and putting millions of people at risk of starvation. So, how can farm workers and crops be protected? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mohammed Jamjoom. Attacked by armed bandits and being kidnapped or forced to pay levies before they can reach their farmlands. Farmers in northern Nigeria are caught between protecting their lives and their livelihoods. Deteriorating security in the northwest is reducing food reserves and adding to the nation's food crisis. Its estimated output has dropped by 60%. The violence is compounding challenges caused by climate change and the coronavirus pandemic. Ahmed Idris reports from Katsina State, where hundreds of people, including school children, have been recently abducted.
In northwestern Nigeria, where armed bandits roam free, mass burials are a regular event. Hardly a day passes without an attack on a village somewhere that leaves either dead or injured and those taken hostage. Entire villages have been sacked, crippling local economies and social activities.
If you compare the amount we have spent for over 6 years in terms of trying to control this, the loss of man hours by farmers that could not access their farms, the loss of working bulls, the loss of cattle, the loss of means of livelihood, people who cannot access their farms, the quantum is better imagined. It has negatively, in fact, impacted on the lives of our people.
The violence that began as a localized conflict between farmers and cattle herders in just one area has now escalated to a full-blown crisis affecting the whole region and beyond. The recent abduction of hundreds of school children by those the government describes as bandits underlines the worsening security situation in northwest Nigeria. Many farmers here have been forced to leave their land after being unable to pay off the armed groups.
We will find a farmer who can farm about 10 to 20 hectares. But due to this insecurity, they cannot be able to farm their farms. And even the small farmers who are able to cultivate, let's say, 2, 3, up to 5 hectares, they were also being forced to abandon their land and be inside the town just to take refuge against the insecurity.
The Cattle Herders Association says nearly every member has had some animals stolen.
Here at the cattle market, there are only a few animals on display. Raids by armed bandits have depleted stocks and potential buyers are staying away. And in the grain section of the market is a similar picture.
The Northwest is Nigeria's main grain and cereal producing region. The fighting here has sparked fears of food shortages in the months ahead. With attacks now growing in number and sophistication, reassuring words from the central government offer little comfort to those facing such violence and the misery it brings. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Northwest Nigeria.
Nigeria's food stocks have declined to less than 30,000 metric tons, a fraction of what it needs. The UN has warned people in the Northeast could face famine. 2.7 million people in that region were projected to face critical hunger last year. An estimated 53% of the population required humanitarian assistance. Years of armed conflict, mainly with Boko Haram, has worsened the food crisis that's driven primarily by poverty. The group has been blamed for the killing of dozens of farmers in recent months. All right, let's bring in our guests who are all in Abuja. We have Sarah Maka Ugbabe, Nigeria Country Director at ONE, a global movement campaigning to end extreme poverty by 2030. Ovigwe Agwegu is a geopolitical analyst at the security think tank Afropolitica. And we're also joined by social justice and political activist Aisha Yasufu. Welcome to each of you. Sarah, let me start with you. Could you break down for our viewers the threats faced by farmers in the northwest of the country versus the threats faced by farmers in the northeast of the country?
Sure. Thank you, Mohammed. With COVID, the onset of COVID, there have been severe impacts on the economy, and the farmers in the Northeast and the Northwest have not been any different. I do think, however, that for example, the economy is contracting, that we know. Oil prices are going down. So the entire economy is feeling the shock and the impact of COVID. But I think there's a additional impact, which is the security issues. The security issues, particularly in the Northeast, in the Northwest as well. Banditry is at an all-time high, and it's something that is affecting not just the economy, but the farmers and the livelihood and the sort of the way people are living in the Northeast and Northwest. This has been exacerbated further by climate change. We see that the property and the land that were used by farmers to graze their cattle in the past are no longer available. Water is being a scarce resource. That is really providing a pressure to the already high tension across the country, and we can't forget the tribal issues with people across Nigeria, with airing with tribes that perhaps didn't get along in the past, but now it's been accentuated by the limited resources, both in the economic standpoint, climate change, and of course the banditry and security issues that Nigeria is facing. So all in all, I think it's worth noting that not just the Northeast, Northwest are feeling this, the entire country is feeling this because we're linked, right? Our food supply is linked to the Northeast and the Northwest and the North Central, quite frankly, and the South. So all Nigerians are feeling the impact of this.
Ovigwe, I want to ask you to expand on this last point that Sarah was making. I mean, just how much of an effect are these attacks on farmers in the Northeast and the Northwest having on the country's food supply and on the country's food reserves?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, for instance, we just heard from the All Farmers Association of Nigeria that certain states in the Northwest, Katsina, Zamfara, Jigawa, that half of farmers have not been able, to farm because of the insecurity. Now, that's a major problem, because if you look at how much Nigeria has changed in recent decades, a major food producer, in the 60s, we could say we're largely food secure, but in the following decades, negligence from successive governments who shifted focus to, oil production or the oil sector, and that left a lot of gaps that have still not been closed up till today. So even if the president or this current administration is driving up its effort in trying to grow more cassava, grow more rice, but there isn't so much, of an impact. Yes, we are growing more of those, but I mean, just look at what happened in late August in Kebbi State, where rains fell, and then before it just swept away, large portion of crops that were due for harvest, and all of a sudden, food productivity just goes down, and then there's no resilience as well. We're talking about climate shocks. We're talking about COVID-19 being a major shock, and banditry, which has also really been a major problem for farmers. In Kebbi State, for instance, we also hearing reports of bandits preventing farmers from going to their farms. And Kebbi State is a major.
Ovigwe, I'm sorry to interrupt you, because I do want to get back to that point specifically about the bandits in just a couple of minutes. Let me move on right now to Aisha. Aisha, I want to ask you about an attack that was carried out in the last several weeks in a village in the Northeast called Zabarmari. This is an attack where dozens of farmers were killed, and some reports say that it happened because farmers had reported Boko Haram's presence to the Nigerian army. Do you know if that is actually the case?
First of all, thank you for having me. One of the things that we did hear from the videos sent out by the terrorists was the fact that one of them had been caught and handed over to the Nigerian military. And so because of that, they came to punish the farmers, and they killed over 40 of them, slaughtered them, and decapitated them. And that's one of the problems that are being faced beyond issue of farms. Telling the people, the government telling the people that we need to go back to our farms. Agriculture need to be improved. But the main issue is that there's no security in the farms, and a lot of people have been killed in their farms, and many farmers have had to abandon their farms and because of insecurity. So it's really a dicey one that Nigeria is being faced with, and we do have this situation of insecurity, not just or the unfortunate incidents that happened in Zabarmari, but all over the country where people are being attacked. Even in the southern part of the country, a lot of people have been killed on their farms, and right now people are really very insecure, especially farmers, and many of them have been forced to abandon their farms.
Sarah, I saw you nodding along to some of what Aisha was saying. Did you want to join in and respond to the point she was making?
Yes, Aisha is spot on. I mean, this issue of insecurity is not just facing those in the northeast and the northwest. The southern people are being killed on their farms in the south. So I do think that it's so important that our borders are being patrolled better. I think that insecurity is slowing Nigeria's development down. Yes, we have COVID. Yes, there are other shocks that are applying to the system, but the security issue is not helping at all. It's allowing the external, both internal actors and external actors, lose faith in Nigeria. So I think it's the #1 priority issue that the government needs to face. And luckily, or not for us, security is a constitutional matter. It's of the federal government. So this is very much within the ambit of the federal government, and we need a very firm, quick response to this security issue.
Ovigwe, okay, I want to get back to the point you were making when it comes to these groups that are referred to as bandits or armed bandits, because that seems to be a catch-all term when it comes to what's going on in the northwest of the country. Could you break down to our viewers, what is meant by officials when they say bandits? How many groups are we talking about?
Well, the exact number is I would say it's unknown, but we know they are getting increasingly more organized. I mean, they've gone from just criminals who carry out extortion to something like an organized criminal network, or several as it were. So from cattle rustling, illegal mining. Some time ago, Zamfara State, the government had to shut down all mining activities because there was a concern that these bandits were going into illegal mining, and that can significantly increase their capability because they will use those resources to fund their operation, acquire weapons, and all of the whatever mobility assets that they need. So whether it's farming, whether it's mining, they've really been a thorn in the flesh of the country. But as it is now, in several key states that are food producing states like Kebbi, that produces a lot of the rice we have in Nigeria, which is a staple, the banditry has been a major problem for farmers. And then there's also an issue of cattle rustling, as well. So if you look at the dynamics in the northwest of Nigeria, it's not particularly good, even in the northeast as well. So whether we want to call them bandits or organized criminals or whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact is, every of our sector requires security, particularly farming, because these farmers are actually in vulnerable position because they will be in farms that are way out of town, and they will be there for long hours working. So guaranteeing their security, whether the government is going to employ vigilante groups or militants, if it cannot really deploy its forces, they will have to do something, because since the advent of the so-called super camp strategy that caused the Nigerian army to withdraw a lot of its forces from hinterland communities, it has left these communities vulnerable. So, and to fill that gap, there needs to be this, effort towards maybe outsourcing to militias or I would say, vigilante groups to sort of provide that security cover that these farmers need, because it is a very precarious situation. In northeast Nigeria, too, Boko Haram has rendered an entire local government. There's a local government in Borno State called Abadam local government. It has over 150 communities. Majority of those communities are farming communities, right? But as I'm speaking to you now, many of the so-called farmers, they are refugees in the Niger Republic.
Let me just come back to you on that. Let me go to Aisha with another question. You know, you were raising the specter of the fact that farmers are going to be needing more security, that is the reality on the ground right now. So Aisha, do the farmers in, whether it be the Northeast, the Northwest, other parts of the country, are they getting any protection from the Nigerian army? Are they just left to fend on their own? And what can be done to get them the kind of security that they so desperately need right now?
Definitely, they are not getting the farmers in Nigeria are not getting the security that they need. Not just the farmers in Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, there's no security. And sadly, we have a government that it's not focused on the primary responsibility of government. I mean, the primary responsibility of government, like we know it, is the protection of lives and properties. And any government that cannot protect the lives and properties of its citizens is not fit to be called a government. We have a situation today where the terrorists are doing what they want to do, how they want to do it, and when they want to do it. And this issue of calling some bandits and terrorists, I mean, I don't get it, because at the end of the day, they are inflicting terror on people, they are terrorizing communities, and they are terrorists. So issue of sort of like sugarcoating it and calling them bandits and mere armed that's not just the way it is. They are terrorists. And right now, farmers are not secured everywhere. Like I did say, Nigerians are not secured everywhere. And what we need to do is, first of all, to build up our intelligence gathering unit. Our security agents that are agencies that are supposed to be in charge of intelligence gathering seem to be nowhere to be found. And even when citizens try to reach out to them and give them information, somehow, somewhere, it gets back to the terrorists and the citizens are punished. What happened in Zabarmari, this is not the first time it's happening. There have been a number of times where the terrorists have come to attack citizens, attack villages, attack communities, because they had been found to be working with the military. And so, first of all, the things that we need to do is to ensure that our intelligence gathering capacities is improved upon. We need to look into the military and ensure that they're doing the right thing. They needs to be strategic leadership. The commander-in-chief needs to know that he is the commander-in-chief and give strategic leadership to the military. Like Asera did say earlier on, the issue of protection of lives and properties is solely as instituted in the Constitution in the hands of the federal government. And it's the federal government that is supposed to do this. And right now, it is not doing that in any way. And we are not feeling that. And we need to have a situation whereby indeed our military are in charge. Let's look, for example, what happened in Katsina State, in Kankara, where hundreds of boys were abducted in their school. The commander-in-chief had gotten into that state that very day, yet it did not deter the terrorists from going on with their attack. They still went on, meaning that the terrorists, as far as they are concerned, know that there's no strategy and there's no leadership and nothing is being done from the Nigerian military. And that's really sad.
Sarah, earlier you were talking about the other factors that are compounding the misery right now, one of them being climate change, one of them being COVID-19 pandemic. I want to ask you more about the economic impact that all of these concurrent crises are having in Nigeria. I mean, is there any prospect of being able to turn things around economically when it comes to perhaps job creation? Anything that can be done to try to help the economy there?
So the good news is yes. We might not turn things around in 2021, but there are a few things that are coming up that Nigeria must key into. The first is the African Free Trade Continental Agreement. Now, what's happening is that our economies are constricting and contracting across the world, not just Nigeria. And where the AU has landed and many countries have signed is this Continental Free Trade Agreement that will help a country like Nigeria expand ability to create jobs, increase economic activity. So it's going to be paramount for Nigeria that we are vested in the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, and we are trading. 90% of tariffs will be removed trading across borders. This is huge for Africa. This is huge for Nigeria. It's huge for countries like South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria that will benefit the most. In addition, there's a single African air transport market that is upcoming. This is part of the AU's also Agenda 2063. It is important that Nigeria takes advantage of that single air transportation market. Again, it boosts intra-Africa trade. If Africa can see itself as one big market, we have an opportunity to create more jobs for our people. We have an opportunity to create more economic activity. We already know that Nigeria has a significant entrepreneurial spirit. So taking advantage of these up-and-coming areas is going to be important. ECOWAS also has a trading protocol. How can we bring that alive? It's going to be desperate in the next few months to create jobs. A lack of jobs increases insecurity. A lack of jobs increases poverty. We're already seeing all high insecurity measures across the country and across the world, quite frankly. We're also seeing poverty rising. Unfortunately, Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, and we're seeing that with COVID, poverty is going to rise. With the contracting of the economy, sub-Saharan Africa is going to go into the first collective recession in 25 years. So we really are in it together, and we need to look for how to create jobs together. The private sector is the key. Somehow government gets into creating jobs, and it touts all the things it's doing to create jobs, but at the end of the day, it's 1% that the government will create. 1% of all the jobs needed, the government can create. The private sector will create 99%. So let's let the private sector do what it does best. Create jobs for the teeming young people we have so we can stabilize security, we can stabilize our economy, and we can reduce poverty in Nigeria and on the continent.
Ovigwe, I want to go back to the points that you were making earlier when it comes to the security situation. How can the government, how can the federal government and its partners intervene effectively in all this and try to turn around the situation?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to, again, look at who has agency, which is the federal government in this case, and how their government is exercising that agency. We know that there is a multinational joint task force in place that is coordinated with Nigeria, Cameroon, and Chad, trying to work together to clamp down, on the Boko Haram issue, as the government is trying to fight within. But there's a lot of gaps, whether it's in strategy, whether it's in weapons. The weapons are still not, are still the main excuse that the government gives. But what about competence? Nobody talks about competence. So we're trying to boost competence. For instance, there's what we call Operation Flintlock. It's an annual exercise between the United States and special forces from several countries. Nigeria participated in the last one. There's supposed to be another one next year. There are all these partnerships that we've been engaged in for a while, but we're not seeing the results on the ground. We're not seeing the results on the ground because it's not a top-down problem. It's a bottom-up problem as well. The solution can be from top-down, but the problem is really boiling at the community level because people don't feel secure, in their countries. We don't have enough coordination between Nigeria and Chad and Cameroon, as it were within the first 2 years of President Muhammadu Buhari coming into office. Immediately he stepped into Aso Rock, that's the presidency. He expedited and was really enthusiastic about it, but some way, somehow, that enthusiasm has died down over the years, even though the threat is still present, and like we were saying recently, the threat is even growing stronger. So perhaps we might have to rethink that our cooperation strategy, who our partners should be, and if we have a problem that we are not even addressing, and that's why our partners don't want to work well with us, because mind you, the Republic of Chad, which is our neighbor to the north, has been complaining over the years about Nigeria's lack of capacity. There are times where Chadian troops actually come into Nigeria to fight Boko Haram, not once, not twice. So maybe we are saying there's the issue of cooperation, but maybe we are the problem as it were. So we have to look at ourselves and look at how to improve these partnerships, because we cannot fight this alone. These are transnational, problems that will require transnational solutions.
All right, we've run out of time, so we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much to all of our guests, Sarah Maka Ugbabe, Ovigwe Agwegu, and Aisha Yesufu. And thank you, too, for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Mohammed Jamjoom, and the whole team here, bye for now.